Continuing our reading in Poppy and Ereth by Avi. Today is Chapter 2, Junior Brings Ereth Some News. A week later, early morning, a mouse called Junior, his fur encrusted with snow, managed to make his way into Ereth's smelly log. The old porcupine was sound asleep, snoring loudly. After a moment's hesitation, Junior patted him on the nose. "Uncle Ereth," he said, "wake up, please." Ereth opened one eye.
Who's that?"
"It's me, Junior, Poppy's son."
"Oh, gralloping ginger snaps. It's a bit early, isn't it?"
"Uncle Ereth, you're Poppy's best friend. I'm sure you'll want to know."
Want to know what?"
The porcupine grumbled. "It's Rye, my father. Last night, he died." Ereth jerked up his head.
"What?"
he roared.
"Right, dead? But he's so young."
"Well, yes, he was."
Then how?"
You know Rye," said Junior. "He went out into the storm looking for poetic inspiration, stayed out too long, developed a cough. The cough worsened and settled in his chest. The fever came on next. The fever became pneumonia. Mom nursed him tenderly, but last night, I'm afraid he died in her paws. She wanted you to know."
Sorry,"
mumbled Ereth. "Thanks. Afraid I can't talk more," said Junior, retreating. "I need to get back to her."
Right, sure."
Alone, Ereth scratched his belly. He looked up. He looked down. He closed his eyes and then opened them. He shook his head as if something was irritating an ear or his brain.
What's the point of living?"
he muttered.
"If all you do is get old and die."
Ereth recalled that Poppy's children had gone off with spouses and had families of their own. She would be alone.
"No, she needs me,"
he announced with sudden urgency. Quills rattling, the porcupine heaved himself up and walked unsteadily to the entrance of his log. Once there, he gazed out upon the spotless white landscape. Large white flakes were drifting down with such gentleness that they blended into a soft blanket of thick silence. Resolutely, if slowly, Ereth pushed his way through the high snowdrifts. By the time he reached Poppy's snag, his quills were laden with snow and ice. His eyes were blurred with tears, and his black nose stung from the cold. Since the hole through which Poppy and Rye entered the snag was too small for Ereth to get through, he had to stop.
"Poppy,"
he bellowed.
"It's me, Ereth. I want to tell you how badly I feel."
After what seemed to be a long time, one of Poppy's and Rye's daughters, Mariposa, appeared. "Oh, hello, Uncle Ereth." Disappointed it was not Poppy, Ereth mumbled,
"No, just wanted to say, I'm sorry about Rye."
"Well, thank you. It is sad."
"Oh, listen here, I forgot your name."
"Mariposa."
"I need to speak to Poppy."
Mariposa was silent.
You have some problem with that?"
demanded Ereth. "Uncle Ereth," Mariposa whispered, "why don't you come back a little later? Poppy is..."
"What?"
She wants to be alone, quiet. I'm sure you can understand."
"But,
"Uncle Ereth, please." Ereth began to say something, but instead wheeled about and started back through the snow. Halfway home, he paused.
"Oh, maybe I shouldn't have been so loud, so..."
He did not finish the thought. Back in his log, Ereth shook off the snow and retreated to the far end.
"Oh, I suppose I should have been softer,"
he muttered as he hunkered down.
"Or expressed more sympathy with some niceness. Dying is so stupid."
He closed his eyes and sighed. 5 days passed before Ereth went back outside. He searched and scratched about the snowy forest until he found an old pine cone that had a few remaining seeds. Clutching it in his chattering teeth, he lumbered to Poppy's snag.
"Poppy,"
he called.
"Poppy!"
Though no answer came, Ereth waited until he could no longer bear the cold. Leaving the pine cone at the entryway to the snag, he stumbled home. 2 days later, he returned. The pine cone was gone. But when he called for Poppy, there was still no reply. Ereth waited a whole week before making his next visit. When he called for Poppy, still no one answered. This time Ereth did something he had never done before. He left a bit of his favorite food, salt, by her snag. 2 weeks later, Ereth went back. The salt was exactly where he had left it. Ereth, who was quite capable of passing the whole of winter without speaking to another creature, was anxious.
"Oh, Poppy!" he bellowed. "I have to see you."
Poppy appeared. Ereth stared at his friend. She was thin, her whiskers drooped, her eyes seemed dull. She kept rubbing her forepaws together as if they were cold. "Yes, Ereth?" she said, speaking softly. "Can I help you?"
I just wanted to say I'm really sorry about Rye."
"Yes, thank you. It's hard."
I left some things."
The pine cone. That was very kind. As for the salt, I'm afraid I don't really care for salt. Why don't you take it back? I know how much you love it." Poppy's voice was so low, Ereth could barely hear her words.
"Oh, I just thought,"
Ereth stammered.
"We might do something to—"
"Ereth," said Poppy, "I need to be alone for a while."
"How come?"
"I'd like to spend some time reading Rye's poetry," she said. Eyes welling with tears, she hastily turned and disappeared from view. Ereth stared at the salt. Though just to look at it made him salivate, he was not going to take it back. As far as he was concerned, it belonged to Poppy. But otherwise, the porcupine had no choice. He felt compelled to respect Poppy's wishes.
"Oh, dancing doorknobs,"
he muttered as he trudged back home to his snag.
"I'm supposed to be her best friend. How can she not want to see me? It's as if she's gone away permanently."
It was not the cold that made Ereth shiver. It was the thought. And that's the end of chapter 2. And we'll also do chapter 3. It's very short. Chapter 3, changes. Though the days grew longer, the weather remained bitterly cold and snowy for weeks. Then, like the sudden turn of an aspen leaf in a puff of wind, the weather changed. Skies cleared, the sun became bright, the temperature climbed. Within a few weeks, unseasonable warmth and slashing torrents of rain melted the winter's deepest snow. Streams crested, mud oozed, tree leaves dripped and dripped. Frogs sang with joy. The rains finally ended, but the heat continued to rise. Spring hardly arrived before it fled. In its place came an early and hot summer, hotter than anyone could remember. Flowers wilted, green shoots collapsed, mushrooms shriveled. Midsummer brought no improvement. Hot, then hotter, dry, and drier yet. The forest floor became hard. Grasses turned brown. Tree leaves fell. Creeks turned into empty gullies. No doubt a drought had come to the forest. And in all this time, Ereth did not see Poppy. And that's the end of chapters 2 and 3.